Hey, what is up guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7. It's that time of the week once again when the weekly challenges go ahead and refresh, and thankfully the best reward possible has finally returned. In what seems like the longest time away, you can now bag yourself a free car reward this week. Now, in terms of the special event, we do have a brand new one as well, following in the footsteps of the 205 special event. Of course, with the update 1.56 cars, we now have a brand new special event for the BMW Z4. So let's have an overview on what's on offer this week. So here we are on the weekly challenges screen. This is March week 2. It will end on the 13th of March 2025 at midnight. Event number 1 then is Blue Moon Speedway for the American FR Challenge 550. We'll then head over to Kyoto Driving Park Yamagiwa for the Japanese 4-wheel drive Challenge 600. Then we have the brand new special event featuring the BMW Z4 1 make at Tokyo Expressway south clockwise. Then we head over to Fuji International Speedway for the Neo Classic competition, and then Dragon Trail Seaside Reverse for the WTC 800. So a few longer events to finish us off. Definitely a longer week overall. In terms of the rewards for one event completed, that will be a 6-star roulette ticket, parts ticket. Then for 3 events, it's 150,000 credits, and for completing all 5, you will bag yourself the best reward possible in the form of a 6-star roulette ticket, car ticket. So let's jump in to the first event of the week then. This is Blue Moon Speedway for the American FR Challenge 550. Of course, this is aimed at American FR layout cars around 550 pp. Now, you're going to see a lot of different American muscle cars here, both modern and of course classic. Now, in terms of my car of choice, I tuned up a Chevrolet Corvette C3 to around about 552 pp. And this car, well, it would get the job done nice and easily. However, we would have a pretty fantastic race for what is very much a basic race at first glimpse. Now, in terms of the grid, it's not very large. You're talking a total of 10 cars, so 9 AI over a 3-lap sprint of this sort of tri-oval shaped layout here. Now, in terms of the majority of the cars, you'll probably work your way through them with relative ease. Again, a lot of them aren't very quick, and being American muscle cars, the AI does tend to struggle, especially with that very, very tight first corner, considering the sheer amount of speed they're hitting at it. Now, in terms of the rest of the grid though, you'll notice that it does spread out relatively quickly. The main car you want to watch out for here is the Dodge Viper GTS from 2002. That thing is absolutely steps above anything else, so just be warned that if it does start towards the front, it's probably going to be way up the road. However, if you get quite lucky and it gets caught up in a bit of traffic, there's a chance that you can probably catch it much easier. As you can see, the Viper for me broke away on the 3rd and final lap, and it would end up being a straight up sprint to the finish line, as we only just narrowly beat the Viper in a drag race here. So there we go, that is event number 1 done and dusted. But what about the payout for this one then? Well, again, it's relatively low. With the clean race bonus, you're talking only 15,000 credits. But again, it is one of the more beginner events for the game. You're also going to get your parts ticket here for 1 event completed. Event number 2 then is Kyoto Driving Park Yamagiwa. This is the Japanese 4-wheel drive Challenge 600. Very much obvious that it's Japanese cars, 4-wheel drive, and around 600 pp. Now, again, this is mainly made up of Mitsubishi Evos, Subaru Imprezas, and a few Toyotas. Again, the AI here, very much a mixed bag. Some seem to be running very much on the 600 pp limit, and some very, very below that. So, again, we're looking at a very small grid here in comparison to some of the bigger events. So, 10 cars total, 9 AI, this time over a 2-lap sprint. So as you can see, I very much had a Gran Turismo 2 themed Lancer Evo 5, and this would absolutely get the job done with relative ease, sitting around about 620 pp. Now again, we're not doing much in terms of top speed here, and really there's not too many modifications, but the racing tyres are going to be working overtime to give us as much grip as possible on what is a relatively tricky little layout. There's some very awkward sections here, and we're going to work our way through the grid with relative ease. I would say really the entire grid, apart from the Impreza 22B, is going to really not give you a problem here. That other Impreza though is a lot quicker than anything else. As you can see, it put out a pretty big lead within, you know, the first opening lap. So just be warned that if you don't catch that thing quick enough, there is a chance that it will disappear into the distance. But we did manage to get our overtake done at the end of the first lap and went on to take a relatively stress-free win. That is going to give us tick number 2 of the week. Now, in terms of the payout for this one, again, relatively low at only 20,000 credits, 30,000 if you do get the clean race bonus. Let's move on then to the third event of the week. And of course, this is the brand new special event featuring the BMW Z4 one make at Tokyo Expressway south clockwise. Now here, I'm going to be running a wide-bodied variant of the Z4, but without any other modifications to it. So the car is completely standard other than some aftermarket aero. Now in terms of the finer details, it's a 4-lap race, so it will take you a fair while to be honest, as it's quite a big layout. 10 cars total. The BMW Z4 is the only option here. First place is pretty nice at 70,000 credits, so no complaints there. Of course, the main rival cars are going to be made up of different BMW Z4s, some aeroed, some completely standard. BOP is off, and same with mechanical damage and all the penalties. Now, as mentioned, again, we are using a wide-bodied variant here of the BMW Z4. So we do have a slight few aero changes, but apart from that, the car is completely standard, even running on that default suspension so that we don't end up rubbing the tyres on the inside of the arches. Now, in terms of the majority of the grid, they are just made up of regular Z4s. However, as you start getting towards the front, you'll probably notice those Z4s are a little bit more pokier. It's made even more obvious by the fact that those two front-running cars will typically just disappear off into the distance in comparison to anything else. Again, they start with, you know, a relatively close pack, but it will spread out very, very quickly. So you're mainly going to be picking them off one by one. Every now and again, you might run into a couple of cars together. But again, the majority of the rear of this grid, so the first half is just going to be made up of completely standard Z4s. Then you get into the kind of more powerful ones. So again, if you want to give yourself a decent enough challenge here, I would fully recommend just leaving your car pretty much standard, and you'll probably get the best out of this event. I really enjoyed it because of that. As you can see, I took the lead and the win in the final few corners there. That is tick number 3 of the week. Again, in terms of the payout, not too bad, 105,000 credits with that clean race bonus. And that is also going to tip us over to our daily driving marathon ticket, which was a 4-star, as well as 150,000 credits in addition to that for the 3 events completed. Moving into event 4 then, Neo Classic Competition. This one takes place at Fuji International Speedway. Again, this is aimed at, I believe, pre-1999 race cars. So you'll see anything from rally cars, Group B, Group 3. I believe there's even a Group 4 in there, and mainly made up of Group C machinery from Group 1. Overall, a very, very enjoyable race. And because it's at Fuji, you can guarantee that polyphony turned the weather on here. I went for the 787B just for the incredible tyre life and fuel consumption. I also seem to have noticed that my 787B actually got a bit of a decrease, so I was able to actually tune it up this time around in comparison to where it originally sat. However, I did notice that the car felt much more clunkier on the new physics with the suspension, so just be aware that if you've not driven a Group C machinery for a while, that it might feel a little bit weird, especially if you haven't jumped in since update 1.55. So that was, you know, the case for me. Now, in terms of my strategy, I'm going for a fuel mix 6 and every now and again just tipping it up to fuel mix 1. Do keep your eye on the weather radar, because as you can see here, right on the midpoint, I started getting rain coming in. However, the majority of the field just ignored it and let the rain carry on and would end up getting caught out, meaning that our early pit stop is really going to pay off. Yes, we're going to lose a bit of track position here, but overall, it's going to work very much in our favour for the rest of the race. Fuji is notorious. Once it starts getting very, very slippy, the AI will just start absolutely disappearing off into the grass, into the barriers, or just naturally spinning everywhere. So again, take advantage of this and try and time your pit stop to perfection. So when I left the pit exit, as you can see, I came out in P9. I had a bit of a gap to the McLaren there in P10, but I did have a fair gap to the front runners here by around about 40 seconds. However, a couple of laps later they would pit in, but by that time the damage was already done. They'd been crawling around for many laps on dry tyres, and it just really, kind of ruined their race. The only car I would say that you probably need to watch out for here is the R92. That thing is absolutely rapid down the straight, and it will give you a good run for your money. However, for me, it did end up pitting twice, but it could possibly be different for you. Anyway, that's tick number 4 of the week. Now, in terms of the payout for this one, 168,000 credits without the clean race bonus for an event that takes around about 17 minutes or so. On to the final event then. Again, another bit of a longer one here to round us out. This is the WTC 800 at Dragon Trail Seaside Reverse. So we are doing the Death Chicane, but backwards here. Now again, it's going to be mainly built up of Group 3 race cars. Some do feel like they're getting quite towards the 800 pp and some really not so much. You'll also see a lot of cars on different strategies. Now my car of choice here would be the Aston Martin GT3. I do have I believe it's a supercharger strapped to this, and my strategy, well, that would be a Fuel Mix 6 racing mediums, which does allow me to pit only the once. Now again, as mentioned, a lot of cars here are on complete alternative strategies to each other. You'll see some cars that are on the softs and they'll box in very early into the race. Some are on the kind of racing hards and might box in a little bit later, and some will try and do a 2-stop and some a 1-stop. So it's really difficult to predict what the grid's going to do and what car's going to do what. Now again, because there's so many different strategies going on, the cars that you really want to watch out for aren't actually going to be the lead cars that are, way out there in the early part of the race. So the things like the Dodge Viper, the Mercedes and the Supras, whilst they are very quick out of the gate, they tend to really lose their pace in the later stages. And again, pitting twice really doesn't help them. So they do kind of tend to drop back. But the cars that you really need to keep an eye on here are things such as the Aston Martins, the Nissan GTRs and the Subarus, since those will tend to do the 1-stop. And again, they'll probably be running in the middle of the pack as you go past, but if you mess up your tyre and fuel strategy, it's going to be an advantage to them. So really just make sure that you're monitoring your tyre wear, you're monitoring your fuel usage, and you're just trying to limit yourself to one single pit stop. It's usually the best way to go about it. So my pit stop came exactly on the halfway mark on lap 5. Now again, I would set myself up with a brand new set of racing mediums, and I am going to fill the car up to just after the little notch there, just to ensure I've got enough fuel until the end of this race. Now I am going to lose a little bit of time here, so of course we're in the pits and we do have cars that are out on completely different strategies, so track position overall isn't necessarily key once I actually leave the pit, because I'm going to be able to make those positions up as the other cars start pitting once again. So don't worry too much if you do end up dropping a decent amount of positions. Again, by the end of lap 7 I was already working my way through. I was up to the Dodge Viper at this point. Again, this car's going to box in soon. The main car I'm watching out for here is that WRX. That thing started to work its way through the grid, and again would be on kind of the ideal strategy. So as long as I can match it and beat it on pace, then I should be able to take a relatively easy win here. I then threw it down the inside on lap 8, and well, at that point thankfully I was able to have enough fuel in reserve that on the final lap I turned the engine mode up to Fuel Mix 1 and poured out a decent enough lead by just over 10 seconds. And there we go, that is going to be the final event of the week complete. Tick number 5 in the bag, and of course the best reward possible. Now in terms of the payout for this one, it's 140,000 credits without the clean race bonus, and of course we are going to get rewarded with that car ticket. So let's open them up then. The 4-star roulette ticket is up first. This is for our daily driving marathon. Now in terms of the 4-star, it's a very hit and miss ticket. Again, you can end up getting some decent credits or maybe even a free car, but of course for me I'm going to get the weakest reward possible here with only 10,000 credits to take away. So pretty frustrating considering what else was on that ticket there. We're then going to go ahead and open up the parts ticket. Now again, this can have a bunch of different rewards for different cars. Some of them are great and some of them not so much. So you're really not going to want to get yourself a set of carbon brakes here when you have something like this, the Stage 5 Ultimate Turbocharger. And actually this will be a fairly good reward, as I got it for the Bugatti Veyron 16.4 from 2013. Then we're going to add the 150,000 credits to the account, and of course after that we're going to head down to the bottom left to open up our free car ticket. Now again, when it comes to this ticket, you can get some very, very good rewards here, but it's going to be very much up to the randomization of the roulette wheel. Now the main car I'm wanting here is the Lambo VGT, and that's exactly what I'm going to get. So zero complaints from me on this one. It is probably one of the better VGTs in the game. And there we go. That is it for the brand new set of weekly challenges with the best reward possible on offer. A huge thank you to all of my channel members and a huge thank you to you guys watching at home. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your weekend. Take care, guys. Peace.